Hi, Phil. I was going through your quiz from chapter 10, and I just wanted to go through a few things with it kind of briefly. The first thing I wanted to mention is that the hypothesis test you're doing here is not a paired t-test. I'm sorry, it is a paired t-test. So this part was okay, actually. My apologies. That's fine. That's right, because they're paired. Here I want to be careful. Okay, so this part's right, but the alternative is that this is actually less. Okay, we're testing to see here if the prices at Walmart are lower than Marsh's. Okay, so this D, the Walmart minus the Marsh's, should be negative. So we're actually testing to see if this is less than 0. Okay. The test statistic I think is a little off. Let me check real quick. Yeah. Oh, hold on. So why is you want to be a little careful when you compute the standard deviation. You're actually computing not the standard deviation of this, but the standard deviation of the differences. I think that's what's throwing you off. See, what you actually want here is you want the standard deviation of D. This is what you're working with. So you want D bar, and you want the standard deviation of D. And that's throwing off your test statistic. It's also throwing off your p-value too. Now you gotta be careful though. So this is something that I had mentioned before to you. And of course I don't think you had the benefit of seeing it before the quiz maybe. But notice what happened here is you took this test statistic and you computed t dot dis. You computed the percentile, okay? But notice this is above 0. The test statistic, the t-distribution, where this test statistic comes from, the t-distribution has a mean of 0. So this lies above 0. So when you're calculating t dot dis, you're calculating the percentile. That's going to be more than 50%. You actually want the upper percentile. Okay, so that's throwing your p-value off. This should never be greater than 1. The p-value is a probability. Okay, so that's a sign something's wrong. What was unusual here that caught my attention was you said we must reject H naught. Okay, you didn't show how. So I need to see some sort of decision rule. I know you used a critical value, which you can do. That's perfectly fine. But then I just need to see how you came to that conclusion, okay? But here's what caught my attention. You rejected the null hypothesis, but you said you don't have sufficient information. Well, if you reject the null hypothesis, you're saying the alternative is true. So you do have sufficient information. So you actually are almost stating the null hypothesis even though you're rejecting it here. Okay, and then here the confidence interval, I just didn't see anything done there. So I think there was a little bit, I think this part here threw you off. There was a little bit, even though you knew it was a paired t-test, this part's correct. How you computed these statistics was off, and I think that kind of messed you up a little bit. Anyhow, I posted a key. Go ahead and look over it, but I wanted to kind of just share my thoughts with you on this. All right, thanks.